I am not sure.
That's a very good job.
Can I read that one?
No, this ain't for little black. Well, this is for God-fearing Christians like me. For God-fearing Christians like me.
Thank you for tuning into Bethel BHG-TV. Like, share, and subscribe. Now our host, Pastor Johnson.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. What happened to my camera? What is going on here? All right, so let me get this together. How are you all doing? I am just glad to be here with all of you all. I'm going to fix my camera. Give me 1 second here. Glad to be here with all of you all. Yes. I have, let me fix this here. Let me see here. I got a lot going on with my camera. I had to clean up today, and that's what I have pretty much have been doing all day. So y'all give me 1 second. I'm going to clean this up so I can fix my camera, and it won't take me but a second. But when I'm doing that, I'm going to tell you, I want to take you all back to this phone app, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it in 1 second. I'll be right back as I adjust this camera here.
Thank you for tuning into Bethel BHG-TV. Like, share, and subscribe. Now our host, Pastor Johnson.
I think that worked. I think it worked. It looks like it did. It looks like it kind of got us there on par. So let's leave it like that. All right. Now, how is everybody? Let's say hello to everybody that's in our chat room. I'm looking over there to see who's all there. And we have a very good lesson tonight, but I always like to say hello to everybody in the chat room. So tonight we have in our chat room, Sister Cheruda in the house, Brother Abraham Talbert in the house, Brother Brian, Brother Bruno in the house, Sister Marie, Sister Brenda Beauclair, Brother Roderick Whitaker, and Brother Terry. And you know what I did not do? I did not spread this to the Facebook. So I'm going to take a second just to make sure everybody has it on the Facebook side. So it would only take a second for me to do that. It may interfere a little bit, but not much. So just wait 1 second so we can make sure that everybody on our Facebook side is getting all of this. And right now they are. Okay, so that being said, let me close it out so we don't get any feedback from it. Tonight, let me tell you, today's Monday. It's a holiday. They call it Labor Day. And let me tell you what happened, okay? So if my volume is okay, if y'all can give me a thumbs up on the volume, I would appreciate that. Shout out to Brother Terry coming in the chat room, Brother Yasun coming into the chat room, Brother Roderick Whitaker. I think I got Sister Brenda Beauclair. If you all give me some information here on the volume. I made some adjustments, and I'm hoping that all of that works. So you all let me know. I'll wait till I hear from you all on that one. In the meantime, we're going to keep going. Okay, everybody says thumbs up. Great. Tonight, I fell asleep earlier, got up, forgot today was Monday. I really did. And that happens sometimes. I just totally forgot today was Monday. And that's because I was off last week and I'm off this week. And so today We got up, we did some things around the house. Somebody says I'm low. I thought maybe just give me 1 second here. I will we look at that. So volume. Because I got to figure that part out. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's a little bit better. I even hear myself a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to leave that right there, and I think we're okay. All right, so so when I'm off like this, I forget what day of the week it is because I have never taken 2 weeks off since I went back to work almost 4 years ago, 3 years ago, since 3 years ago. I haven't taken 2 weeks off. And when I take 2 weeks off, I get so refreshed. I get very, very relaxed. And so I was off last week spending a week with my daughter, her last 2 weeks before she starts school on this Thursday. And I wanted to do that. And I'm having a good time. And so all of that to say, I normally play Come On in My Room. And I did not know what day of the week it was until Coach called me. And she called me about 8 o'clock, and she wanted to just know if everything was okay. And it was. I had already slept, just relaxed, and just happened to get up, and my wife was doing so what we call fall cleaning, something that we like to do before the Feast of Tabernacles comes in. It's not a law or nothing like that. It's just something we do when the feast days are coming in before, actually the Feast of Trumpets and all of that. We try to get everything just reorganized around the home. It's a good time to do it. So that's what we were doing. And she was actually doing it. And I jumped in. And when I jumped in, I thought it was Sunday. That's just it. I just thought it was Sunday. So I wanted to come to you all with a lesson tonight. And I said, I want to do something because I really feel bad for not coming on. Because it would have just been nice to simulcast my brothers. And I told you all, I want to speak to you all about this phone app, IOG app. Get that app. I want to just say that app, I'm going to play that infomercial again when we end tonight, but get that app, brothers and sisters. There is a monthly subscription to it. It's not much, but it is worth it. You can listen to a lot of lessons. You get it from different perspectives. This is the time now that we need to start feeding this and feed it as often as you can. Okay? So I just wanted to leave that with you. Tonight's lesson is scholarly sources identifying the people of the Bible. And let me tell you why I'm doing this lesson tonight. You and I are okay with reading the scriptures, and we can identify the people of the book. We can just look at Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and just read it, and you and I would be completely satisfied knowing a little bit about history that no other people on earth since mankind has ever been placed on ships, and it's got to have all of the elements of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. scattered among all of the countries of the earth, scattered in the four corners of the earth, just scattered. Your children sold, and another sleeping with your wife, and there's not voluntarily, by the way, just taking her. And there's nothing you can do. Nothing at all. You can just sit there, and you better not say nothing. You and I can read the scriptures and have information on our history and say, that's enough. I don't need nothing else. You will find people who want scholarly sources. So let's talk about scholarly sources. And we're going to show you as many as possible because it's only 9:45, and I don't want to be selfish, but it's only 9:45 and I don't have to go to work tomorrow. But in the West Coast, it's 6:45. So we're going to, if you're in the Central time, it's 8:45. So we're going to make this a good enough time for you all to get this. Scholarly sources outside of the Bible is other reputable sources that you can look at that will confirm what the scriptures has saying. Now, these scriptures that are scholarly sources do not intentionally exist for the purposes of confirming the Bible. They're not there for that. They were written for other purposes. They're not there to substantiate what's written in the book. In fact, when the authors wrote it and printed it, they had no idea that they were substantiating who are the people of the Bible. They had no idea. This Bible, brothers and sisters, is the history of a people whom the Lord entered into a covenant agreement with. Everybody would love to latch themselves on to being the historical people of that book. Everybody would. In fact, they would go so as far as to conceal and to hide and to cover up who are these people of the book if in fact they have grabbed and owned being the identity of the people in this book. This is the identity of the people of this book is one of the most today, and it has always been, scholarlies have always talked about it. Biblical theologians have always tried to identify the people of the book. The thing is, everybody knows how important it is and how significant it is, not to salvation, but to historically identify the people of the book, because there were inherent promises for the people of this book. But also only if they obeyed the commandments, the laws, and the statutes of the God of Israel. If they didn't, then there was going to be curses that would come upon them. And it did. Because the history of this book talks about it. The prophets talk about it. There is a lot of information about the people that are in this book. And we're going to talk about that tonight. The scholarly evidence of who are the people of the Bible. The number one seller since it has been written, the number one seller of books has always been the Bible. Always been the Bible. It's always a top seller. Top seller. You can probably think about how many times you will go through a Bible and you wear out the pages and then you got to go buy another one. I can't count on two fingers how many Bibles I have purchased. Some because when you get a certain age, you need the thick print, you know? So it just goes on and on like that. Scholarly sources are important because you will be challenged as to if you are the people of that book. Shout out to the Balm of Gilead radio show on with us tonight. You will be challenged if you claim to be the people of this Bible and you are not recognized by mainstream as the people of this Bible, you will have to do a lot of explaining, approving, other than Deuteronomy 28. In fact, brothers and sisters, people will say, give me something else other than Deuteronomy 28. Well, I can take them to Leviticus, the 26th chapter. I can take them to the prophets. I can take them a lot of different places. And the fact that you are replacing who claims today to be the people of this book, you have a long road ahead of you unless you can prove it. I remember speaking with a head of an organization, and I remember him specifically telling me, you can't just go by the scriptures, you got to go by scholarly evidence. Reputable, I can't say that word when I want to. Reputable evidence. Reputable evidence is evidence that you can accept from written sources or other sources that are authentic in its presentation. If you can't do that, no. It's like writing a college paper or in a lot of cases, those that are in 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and they're taking advanced English and writing, you'll know that you got to write your paper a certain way. It's got to have an abstract. It's got to have a table of contents. It's got to have a conclusion and hypotheses and stuff like that. And then you got to have references that come from documented, published. And they always tell you publish, because when things that are on a educational level can get published, then right there and then it's considered to be reputable. And if it's reputable, and if it has, if the writer is considered to be someone that is renowned, someone that is well known, well respected in the education community or in the expertise in which they are writing, what they call an expert source. So if your source is good, then it really makes your paper that you're writing or your argument that you're presenting, it makes it more acceptable, especially in the academia society. So that being said, let's get to some sources. Let's look at some things that I think that will help you when you're dealing with showing who are the people of the book. Scholarly source number one. And here it is. Scholarly source number one. And again, as I said, some of these books are not written on the subject That's important for you all to realize. Some of these books are not written on the subject. They are written on other subjects, but they just happen to unknowingly, haphazardly present facts that's not relevant to what they're writing, but it's relevant as information to what we're presenting tonight, and that is scholarly sources identifying the people of the Bible. So let's get to this. Scholarly source number one. Number one. This is coming from a book, and I want to zoom out of it a little bit. This is the property of the University of Michigan. It's in the libraries. That's a reference number right there. And this is a book that is owned by the University of Michigan. It was written in 1817, and it's called Critical Review. Okay? And this was the front of the cover of the book is right here. So let's go on to the contents that is in that book. In the Critical Review, it was a British publication appearing from 1756 to 1817. Okay? It was first edited by Tobias Smollett from 1756 to 1763. The contributors included Samuel Johnson, David Hugh, John Hunter, and Oliver Goldsmith. Now, these were not people of color, okay? So let me go back to this. Inside of this book, it talks about, this was another person in the book, but I'm going to go to the context because I can't remember why I had that part up. But here's the context in that book. And I'm going to zoom in on it so you can see it, because I want you to know that some of the letters at that time were not letters that we would recognize today. And he says, Professor Springler proposes to publish a complete history of the Negro slave trade from its rise. It looks like an F, but it's an S. Let me zoom in on that a little bit more and see if I can do that without, yes, let me do it this way. We'll come over to the next page in a second. All right, I like that better. One more time. So it says, Professor Springle proposes to publish a complete history of the Negro slave trade from its rise to the present time. The scene of the slave trade extends far beyond Guinea, though that coast furnishes the Europeans with the greater number of slaves for their American and West Indian colonies. The Portuguese indeed still procure slaves from their East African settlements, especially Mozambique, if I'm saying that right, and the French transport. So let's keep going. It is generally imagined that the Europeans were first taught, the Negroes was first taught it is generally imagined that the Europeans were the first who taught the Negroes this cruel branch of trade. But the poor Negroes had already tasted of the hardship slavery long before the arrival of the Portuguese on their coast. I want to get down to a part that I want to read. Let me go over here to this next page, because it tells you a little bit about the trade in itself. Let me reduce this a little bit. The first rivals of the Arabs for the slave trade were the Portuguese. Since 1445. Now, this needs to deal with some people who try to calculate to 400 years. And they think that it's just America is the only place where people are going to be slaves at. Since 1445, whose preceding voyages were made merely in continuation of the war against the Arabs, who King Alfonso III had expelled from his dominion. So this king had gotten rid of a lot of people. The kidnapping pursuits of the Portuguese were favored by the papal donation of the new discovered countries. So that's North America, all of that. It wasn't even called North America at the time. It was just new land. Till Prince Henry, who meant to improve the discovery in Africa to other purposes than merely for the extirpation of Mohentism, whatever that is, forbade the kidnapping of his navigators. Pope Nicholas IV, in that famous bull by which he granted the unknown world to the Portuguese and Spaniards. So he says, hey, Portuguese and Spaniards, y'all can have that. Y'all can go over there and be granted to look over into that country. Expressly permitted and ordered the Christians to reduce all infidels into slavery. Now, infidels into slavery was what they called people who don't believe, but it wasn't that the slaves didn't believe. They didn't believe in the doctrine that was presented by the popal or the popes. An order zealously executed by both these nations. So a lot of people that was in slavery in Spain and Portugal was executed. In the meanwhile, the Portuguese were advancing nearer and nearer to the countries abounding in gold and discovered in the progress of their navigation many useful and valuable articles of trade. That of pepper, now found by them, gave the first shock to the East Indian trade till they carried on by the Venetians. In order to procure plenty of pepper, a spice of which incredible quantities were consumed in those ages, and other merchandise, the Portuguese were obliged to cease kidnapping and hostilities and to purchase slaves instead of carrying them off by force. I don't know what you would consider by force, but if you put me in slavery and sell me, that's not voluntarily. Let's go to the next page and listen to what it says. I want to reduce it so we can see it, so you can get the context of where we're going at with this evening. Since it has been carried on by the Europeans, this slave trade has undergone but few changes. It is still carried on within its ancient limits. Now, remember, this was written in 1817. It is still carried on within its ancient limits along the sea coast, though it now reaches further up into the island countries of Africa. And the same articles of trade which had already been imported by the Arabs are still eagerly sought for by the Negroes. only the number of European traders and settlements was greatly increased, and the Portuguese have lost their monopoly on the coast. Professor Springle divides the history of the Negro trade carried on by Christians. Carried on by Maine at that time, which was mainly Catholicism, into two principal periods. The first from 1443 to 1645, and the second from 1645 to the present times. Again, this was written in 1817. And let me bring this out. You know, this was not written by Hebrews. This was written by Gentiles, those of Caucasian persuasion. So it goes on to say this. Let me find my book back. There it is. The first period is the time of its increase, during which not only its founders, the Portuguese, but the English, the Dutch, and the French dealt in Negro slaves, though chiefly for the use and consumption of the Spaniards, and the sugar and tobacco plantations in the Brazils. During the latter period, these four nations were obliged to share that trade with the Swedes. Okay, let's keep going. We're just giving you some history of where we were. I'm going to tie it into being the people of the book in just a second. Gonzalez was the first Portuguese. I think I can take this in a little bit. Gonzalez was the first Portuguese who in 1442 returned with Negro slaves purchased, instead of the Africans who had till then been carried off by mere violence. So now they're saying, well, we didn't take them by violence, we purchased them. But soon after the Portuguese became better acquainted with the African regions and their valuable productions, Prince Henry founded the first Guinea Company that settled factories in the fortress of Arguin and got the exclusive privilege of trading with the Arabs. So just so you know where they got us from, the Arabs. The trade soon increased so that in 1445, not less than 700 or 800 Negro slaves were annually exported to Lisbon. Lisbon is up there in the Portuguese and Spain area. And somebody says, well, where does this tie us in with the scriptures? Just hold on, we're going to get there. The Portuguese endeavored to exclude other nations. So in other words, I'm just showing you right now where we were traded at. The Portuguese endeavored to exclude their nations from Guinea, whilst the rest of the European navigators were, in spite of papal bulls and all the reports, industriously spread of the pretended dangers of the coast, striving to get a share of that profitable gold trade. You know who that gold trade is, okay. The discovery of the Gold Coast served indeed yet more enlarge the sphere of the navigation of the Portuguese than their slave trade, but it forced them also to extend themselves to the coast and to the settled colonies in Congo, Angola, and other places which they had till then neglected. Prince Henry's colonies were enlarged by his successors. King John II in 1492 expelled all the Jews to the island of St. Thomas. Who did they expel? All the Jews. Talking about the slaves. To the island of St. Thomas, which had been discovered in 1471, and to other Portuguese settlements on the continent of Africa. And from these banished Jews, the black Portuguese, as they are called, and the Jews in Lango. This is why scholarly sources are important, because they were just simply given history on what was going on in the different countries, but somebody referred to us. Listen to this. They referred, let me get it back over here. Where am I? Where did I go at? Here we go. They referred to us, listen to this. King John, after Prince Henry went on, King John II in 1492 expelled all the Jews to the island of St. Thomas, which had been discovered in 1471, and to other Portuguese settlements on the continent of Africa. So there was Portuguese settlements in Africa. So they would start taking them out of Portuguese, out of Spain, where they had fled from or fled into, and brought them right back. Black Portuguese, as they are called. And the Jews in Lango, or Langoa, or Loango, who are despised even by the very Negroes, are defended. So we are getting some information. Let's go to scholarly source number 2. Let me zoom out on this. Scholarly source number 2. This is a book that is in the library of the University of California, Los Angeles. And the title of the book is The History of the Inquisition. The History of the Inquisition. That's the title of this book. The History of the Inquisition. Now, it's called the introduction. Let me go back to this book. I want to make sure. Yes. So it's got the introduction, being the history of persecution. Being the history of persecution. Now, when I go back up here, I look at it. Here's a list of subscribers to this book. A list of subscribers. Let me move this over so you can look at it. And it lists a lot of them. I don't know who these people are. Some of them are preachers and stuff like that. It's got the reverend. These were people who also probably traveled and had some input to bring in. So let's look at it. Let's zoom in on it and let's move it over so we can read it. All right? I want to read it. Let's go back up here and zoom in a little bit more. This is how we have to do it. Okay. Now listen what it says. Let me bring it over. That's how we have to do it. Okay, there we go. It says, the Jews, thus driven from Spain, fled for the most part into Portugal, and obtained from King John under certain conditions that they might live there for a certain season. Now they're talking about the Jews fled. Now they're writing information, but they don't know that they have no problem Let me tell you something. They have no problem of the slaves being the history of the Bible being their history. Because to them, what they're teaching at that time is that the Lord has scattered us because we have refused to keep his commandments, laws, statutes, and judgments. So they have no idea, they have no problem in their writings at that time referring to us as the Jews. No problem at all. At all. I'm going to move my comments over so I can and see what you all may be putting in here. So let's read this. The Jews, thus driven from Spain, fled from the most part into Portugal and obtained from King John under certain conditions that they might live there for a certain season. Now notice when you see F after a capital S, it's still the S sound, okay? The conditions were chiefly these, that everyone should pay to the king 8 pieces of gold and leave Portugal within a limited time. So what they're doing is they told the Jews that were driven from Spain and they fled into Portugal. Portugal said, listen, y'all can stay here, but these are the conditions. You got to pay the king 8 pieces of gold, which means they got to work now. And you know how it is when you work for people and you really need money, they'll pay you what they want to, okay? In fact, that's still the case today. And you can pay him 8 pieces of gold and leave Portugal within a limited time and forfeit their liberty if they exceed it. Let me stop there. So, this is like the PPP money, the personal protection, whatever they call that. They said, here's money, and you can have it. And if you got a company, all you got to do is fill out this paperwork, and you can get this money, and you got to pay it back. See, these are little things that they put there that they know you can't succeed in. They knew, knowing how we can be as a people, somebody was going to falsify that information. And they did. I just looked on the news tonight. How many people they just rounded up again over the weekend. In fact, I'm going to show it to you. Just so you can see that this is not the first time people put conditions on you that they know that either you're going to fail or not succeed in. They already know it. Already know it's not going to happen. Let me just find it real quick. Because, I think it, as y'all know, I have been on this thing all weekend just to look at what's happening with this. Wow. Am I signed in? I thought I was signed in. Let me go to my channel. Let me go to news. PPP loan fraud arrest. Yeah, here it is. This might be it here. And if you could see the amount of people in South Florida that got arrested. I'm telling you, it is crazy. I'm not going to waste time on it. I can't find it. It has to be on my channel where I can look at my news. But and I'm telling you, it is crazy. I'm looking for channel 7. It would just blow your mind. The amount of money that people got. I'm going to show that to you all. I'm not gonna go through all of them. I'm just going to show you the headings up, brothers and sisters. This has been going on for a long time. Let's read that again. So what they did is they said, listen, y'all could stay, but this is what you got to do. You got to pay the king 8 pieces of gold. Where are they going to get gold from? Where were the Jews who were scattered, running, going to get gold from? They had to work for it. And what did you think that the employers were going to do? And leave Portugal within a limited time. And they knew that it was already set up. Don't pay them. Don't just pay them a little time. Just pay them a little bit, enough. Start them off. Give them 2 or 3 pieces of gold and let them think that they got a short time to go. And then let them buy food. And then when they come back, right when the time comes, don't give them. Just give them a little bit. Don't give them enough. Don't give them enough. So they can go beyond their time period. The conditions were these, that everyone should pay to the king 8 pieces of gold and leave Portugal within a certain time limit and forfeit their liberty if they exceed it. In other words, you no longer are over yourself. And that the king should grant them free liberty to sail away. Remember that S, that F is an S. So if they make it, then they get to sail away. Whilst the king lived, tells us he took great care to perform his promise to the Jews. He commanded his officers in the ports that they, listen to this now, he's granting a promise to the Jews. Listen at what they are calling the slaves, Jews, black slaves. They're referring to them as Jews. He commanded his officers in the ports that they should agree with the masters of ships for transporting the Jews where they please for a reasonable price, and further ordered that no one should injure them. But it happened far or her wife, but it happened harbor wife, for the merchants and masters who received the Jews on board their ships used them very cruelly at sea. So they treated them bad at sea. Not contented with the price that they had agreed for, they used all the methods they could and invent to extort more from them, and besides this, even forced their wives and daughters. I'm not going to even go into Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. I'm not going to go into the prophets that talk about all of this. So we're getting into scholarly evidence, brothers and sisters, scholarly evidence outside the Bible that will show who are the people of the book. You don't think these people knew who you are? Shout out to Bob McGill radio show. They said we are reading documented history. People actually knew who we were. They still know who you are today. That's why the scriptures, the prophet says, the nations have conspired. Let's keep reading. Okay. I'm going to blow this up a little bit more. I don't know how much more I can. No, I can't blow it up no more than this. Okay, let's keep going. So they treated them bad, right? Let's go on back down here. So, not contented with the price that they had agreed for, they used them all the methods that they could to extort more from them, and besides this, forced their wives and daughters. These horrid abuses, terrifying the Jews that yet remained in Portugal, and not being able through poverty to purchase within the time necessary for their voyage, suffered it to escape, suffered it to elapse, and thus lost their liberty. They lost their freedom. And he who wanted a Jew servant begged him of the king and said, let us have one of those servants. Now, brothers and sisters, this has not happened to no other people on earth but the people of the Bible, who are you and I today. Now, what does this mean? Does this mean salvation is only for the Jews or for Israel? No. Salvation is for all mankind. I want to make that plain and clear. The same law that's for Israel is the same law for the strangers and anybody that wants to join themselves to this Bible. So I'm going to debunk that with any Hebrew out there teaching that buffoonery doctrine that has no scriptorial proof. Somebody say, well, why do we teach this? Because it's in the Bible. It's in the book. The history of Israel is in the book. I'm just confirming to you who they are. So listen to this. It keeps going on to say, these horrid abuses terrifying the Jews that yet remain in Portugal, and not being able through poverty to purchase within the time the necessary for their voyage, suffered it to elapse, and thus lost their liberty. And he who wanted a Jew servant begged him of the king. Wow, I'm sure that was planned. In the meanwhile, King John died. His successor, Emmanuel, finding that the Jews could not help staying longer in Portugal than the time fixed them by John, gave them all their liberty. Sometime after this, he was advised by the king and queen of wherever that is, by letter, not to suffer that wicked nation, hated by God and man, to abide in Portugal. Here's the book right here. Here's the book. This is where it's at. This is the title of the book. History of the Inquisition. Not written by Hebrews, not written by black slaves. This was written by scholars of that day. I'm only reading the book, brothers and sisters. I'm just reading it. Wrote them a letter and said, listen, don't do this. Don't do this. Where was I at? I got off. We have to read this. We got to read this stuff. Where was I at? Did I skip some of it? I hope I didn't. No, I didn't. Let me take my time and go back over here so we can read this. I want to make sure I get it. Okay, yeah, I was on the wrong page. Here we go. Let's go back over and read this. We're going to come back over to that page. So listen what it says. So they get a letter and it says, don't don't let all of these people remain. So his successor, Emmanuel, finding that the Jews could not help staying longer in Portugal, in other words, they couldn't help it, than the time fixed by them by John. They couldn't help it. So Emmanuel, his successor, realized, oh, wait a minute. They couldn't help it. I mean, how much was y'all paying them? Well, we were paying them this. Well, you put a time frame on them. It's not that many hours in a week, work hours in a week. They couldn't help it. So he says, finding that the Jews could not help staying longer in Portugal than the time fixed them by John, gave them all the liberty. Listen, I don't know what agreement that John had with y'all, but y'all go. I'm not going to let this happen. And he was getting ready to. But after this, he was advised by the king and queen of Castile, I guess whoever that is, by letters not to suffer that wicked. Don't you allow that wicked nation, hated by God and man, to abide in Portugal. After mature deliberation of the affair, he commanded all the Jews. Let's go read the next page. He commanded all the Jews. Well, I thought I was actually the other page. Oh, no, that's page 2. Let's see what page this is. Well, I lost some of it. I think I only highlighted what I thought was important. Let's go up here. Jews and Moors in Portugal who would not profess the Christian religion to depart the kingdom, and set them a day, after which if any of them were found there, they should forfeit their liberty. The Moors immediately passed over into Africa, and as the Jews were preparing to depart, the king commanded that all their children who were not above 14 years old should be taken from their parents and educated in the Christian religion. See, I want you to understand Deuteronomy 28. I want you to understand Leviticus the 26th chapter. I want you to understand everything that the prophet said that the Lord said he was going to do to Israel, for Israel breaking the covenant with him. Okay, so they said, take the children, and the Jews were preparing to depart. They were getting ready to depart, right? The king commanded all their children who were not above 14 years old. So in other words, if they 12, 10, 5, all the way down, if they're not above 14 years old, take them from their parents, educate them in the Christian religion. It was a most affecting thing to see children snatched from the embraces of their mothers and fathers, embracing their children violently, torn from them, even beaten with clubs, to hear the dreadful cries they made. And every place filled with the lamentations and yells of women. I'm going to keep this right here. I just want to look at you straight in the face closer. The Holocaust that happened in Germany was a horrible thing to happen. I ain't got no problem with that. It was horrible, putting people in gas chambers. But brothers and sisters, what we're reading now is the most horrific event. And there's been a lot of tragedies. The Tutsis and the Hutus over in Africa chopping, just genocide, what they did. It was horrible, horrible. But what you reading right now, it was a most affecting thing to see children snatch from the embraces of their mothers and fathers, embracing their children violently, torn from them, even beat with clubs, to hear the dreadful cries they made, and every place filled with lamentation and yells of women. Brothers and sisters, I have a 10-year-old daughter. I would die. I would die. I'm telling you, it just wasn't going to happen. And some of you all have small children, or your children may be grown, but go back to that day. Listen to this. Many through indignation threw their sons into pits, and others killed them with their own hands. What added to their misery was that those who would have gone over to Africa to avoid these evils were not suffered. They were not allowed. For the king deferred giving them the liberty of selling day after day. And though at first he assigned them 3 ports where they might go on board, he afterwards forbid their selling from any other but that of Lisbon. This brought a vast number of the Jews to that city. But in the meanwhile, see, we have to read this. In the meanwhile, let me skip up a little bit. We can read some more. In the meanwhile, the appointed day was past, so that such of them as could not get off were necessarily made slaves. Most of them, being overcome with these calamities, chose rather either sincerely or feignedly to make profession of Christianity. So to save themselves, they just simply said, you know what, I'm a Christian. Than to live in much miseries, and being baptized, recovered their liberties and children. See, let me say something to you all. You still have not seen a day. In Matthew 24th chapter, it says there's going to be a tribulation that has never been such a time that it will be during that tribulation, not going back, not now, nor ever will be. And I'm going to show you what people did to save their hiney parts. I'm a Christian. Baptize me under that Catholic or that Pope, whatever it is. Just baptize me underneath that. Give me that other Jesus. Give me that other Jesus. And although they feignedly did it, it wasn't done here, but they outwardly did it just so that they can survive. But you see, during the tribulation, you're not going to be able to do that. You can't say, well, I'll just take the mark of the beast, but really in heart, no. Whoever receives the mark of the beast. And so y'all stop this buffoonery that whether you choose to take the vaccine or not, that's between you, your body, and your doctor. But quit telling people that it's the mark of the beast. You haven't seen nothing yet. Okay, let's keep going. This brought a vast number of Jews to that city. Okay, let's keep going. No violence, however, was offered to the Moors, lest the Sarucians, or whoever that is, I think I got what I wanted to out of that source. Let's go to another source. Go to another source. But look at this. I want you to look at the year here that we're dealing with. Okay? 1550. But let's keep going. Let's find another one. I want to go to another one. And when they were beat, this is the auto de fe. This is just showing you pictures. Here you are. Here, you got a black slave, Hebrew. He's riding around with a cross on him. So he sort of like came in with it. But look over here. Look at what they're doing to people if they don't accept this Christianity. Look at what they're doing to them. Look at people getting beat with clubs, taking their children away from them. This is a picture that was done because somebody knew what was actually happening. Look at this. This is in Spain and Portugal. Look at who the people are, getting ripped away from their parents, getting beat with clubs. So when somebody says, "Oh, I need academic proof," it's here, brothers and sisters. Let's go to source number 3. Let me make this scholarly source number 3. All right, number 3. Let's go look at what book this is from. This is a book, background information. This is a book that was written in. It's called A New Voyage to Italy, A New Voyage to Italy, with curious observations of several other countries, as Germany, Switzerland, Savoy, Geneva, Flanders, Holland, in 2 volumes in the 5th edition with large editions throughout. Okay, background, 1892. Which I'm not going to read all of that. Well, I could. The 18th century was a wealth of knowledge, exploration and rapidly growing technology, and expanding record keeping made possible by advances in the printing press. In its determination, I can't read that, to preserve the century of evolution, Gale initiated a revolution of its own, digitization of epic portions. Okay, in other words, they're letting us know that these are digital copies, okay? These are digital copies. So let's look at this book. This book was written in 1749. It was called A New Voyage to Italy. A New Voyage to Italy, written in 1749. That's the book, brothers and sisters. But let's look on one of the pages that it has so we can go look to see what is it saying about the Jews. So let's go read it. Let's go read it. Let's go look at this. The author of La Roma Santa affirms that the Jews stink and that their noisome smell vanishes after they are baptized. Cosa Maravigola, wherever that is, I know not why this should be reckoned wonderful. For those who are to be baptized are to be carefully washed and cleansed, that they must needs become sweet, so they really stunk before. But 'tis ridiculous to imagine that those Jews, as being Jews, have a peculiar smell. So they're saying it's amazing that these people are supposed to be Jews, but they have a terrible smell. I got a note here, and take note the writer on page 139 refers to the Jews being black, especially to those whom the label as being the Portuguese Jews. That's what I'm bringing out in here. But let's just read how they wrote. The hatred. Listen to this. I know not why this should be reckoned wonderful. In other words, I don't know why y'all saying that once they baptize, they smell good. For those who are to be baptized are so carefully washed and cleansed that they must needs become sweet. So though they really stunk before. But it's ridiculous to imagine that the Jews, as being Jews, have a particular smell. The Jews at Rome are very poor. Those who are poor are always nasty. And those who are nasty usually stink. This is the mystery. 'Tis also a vulgar error that the Jews are all black. For this is only true of the Portuguese Jews. So now you got some people who are converts, who marry among one another, begat children like themselves. Consequently, the swarthiness, that means the darkness, of their complexion is entailed upon their whole race, even in the northern regions. Then it says, but the Jews who are originally of German, those, for example, I have seen in Portugal, are not blacker than the rest of their countrymen. They black, but not blacker. Just look at how these people are writing. Let's go to another source. See, you know, this is important to get, brothers and sisters. Because this will let you know who are the people of the book. Here's another book. Let's see where it's coming from. This one is coming from the Boston Public Library, the Virginia and Richard Elric collection. Okay? Baruch Spinoza. This is Spinoza's work. He was a Jewish Dutch philosopher of Portuguese Sephardi origin. By laying the groundwork for the Enlightenment and modern biblical criticism, including modern conceptions of the self and the universe, he came to be considered one of the great rationalists of the 17th century philosophy. Well, let's get to the book. Let's look at the book here. Okay, so he was of Jewish Dutch. He was a Jewish Dutch philosopher of Portuguese Sephardi origin. Okay, we read that. Let's keep going. So let's see what he wrote. Let's see what he had to say. Let's see what he put in the book, brothers and sisters. Let's blow this up and see what he put in the book. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Might have to take it down to 125. There we go. So let's see what he had to say. Let me see if there's something on this page. I don't want to miss anything. No, I got everything circled in red on this page. He was of a middle size. He's going to describe what he considers as one of the Jews. He was of a middle size. He had good features in his face. The skin was somewhat black. Black curled hair, long eyebrows, and of the same color. So he was somewhat black. In other words, he was pretty dark. That's why they say, man, he was somewhat black. Black curled hair, black eyebrows, and of the same color. So his hair, his eyebrows, and his eyes were all black. So that one might easily know his looks, that he was descendant from Portuguese Jews. Let's go to another one. Let's go to another one. See, I want y'all to get this because people will ask you for scholarly evidence. Who are the people of the book? Give me some scholarly evidence. Show me outside the Bible. Shout out to Brother Berean if he's listening, because he always say, give us a receipt. Give us somebody outside the Bible to give me proof that that the slaves are the Hebrews of the book, of this Bible. Give me something. Give me something. Give me some proof. And let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. Don't nobody fight about the information than Hebrews who don't know that they're Hebrews. They fight the most. So-called Christians, modern day Christians, they fight because they don't want to keep the Sabbath. That's what it's about. They want to eat whatever they want to eat. They want to keep that Christmas. They want to keep that Easter. They want to keep and worship that other Jesus. That's what they want to do. They want to be lawless. So they will fight this information as much as they can. Let's go look at this book. Let's go look at this book here. This book here is very interesting. It's called Ogilby's, is this it? John Ogilby's The America. I think this is what that book is. Let me see. If I'm not mistaken, is this a movie? Yeah, let's play it. Let's play it. Let's see if we can play it. See if we can hear it.
Down there is a city that's been twice completely destroyed and rebuilt.
Can y'all hear?
The last time was in the Blitz. Before that was the Great Fire of 1666. And if we could have got this high then, this is what we'd have seen. Of course, this had to be drawn by surveyors at ground level.
Now let me start that back over. Let me let you know what you're going to hear. This is a book written by John Ogilby. I wanted to know who was John Ogilby. He wrote this book. And before we dive into what he wrote, I found a clip on who John Ogilby was. Because he wrote this. He was hired by the king to draw maps of the coastlines, the various kings in the various countries. He was hired to do that, to write it out, because they, draw out the coastline. So, and it helped them with showing the coastlines and the countries and the boundaries and stuff like that. So I found this video on him on YouTube. I thought it would be good. Let me zoom out a little bit so I can make sure I cover everything on this video, okay? So I'm gonna play it and you check it out and we'll come back. It's not that long at all.
Down there is a city that's been twice completely destroyed and rebuilt. The last time was in the Blitz. Before that was the Great Fire of 1666. And if we could have got this high then, this is what we'd have seen. Of course, this had to be drawn by surveyors at ground level. One of them, a man of 66, had been completely wiped out by the fire and was left with nothing but his clothes and a £5 note. And then, when that was done, he produced this, the most celebrated, in fact, the first road atlas of any country in the world. This is John Ogilby's Britannia, published in 1675. His life had taken him from selling sequins on the street through 9 careers, through wars, revolution, the birth of modern Britain, and arranging the coronation of the king. And John Ogilby started work on this phenomenal undertaking when he was 70. Now that should give hope to us all. But admiration for his sheer energy and originality is not the reason that I became fascinated by his life. This book looks so big and stately, so definitive and encyclopedic, that nobody's actually dug into it to see exactly what John Ogilby was up to. This man was the finest producer of map books in England, and he knew everything there was to know about engraving. Now look, 3 men are at a table littered with geometric and surveying instruments. They're in some consternation, drawing attention to this globe of the world. It shows the words Europe and Africa, but the map is wrong. East and West are reversed on purpose. Now, why would that be? This is a clue to coded information hidden until now. Ogilby speaks darkly of pregnant hints and fainter representations to do with civil dissension and foreign invasion. The mystery begins with the first road in the book. There were standard lists of roads and none included this. Who wanted to go to Aberystwyth, a town with less than 100 houses and a ruined castle? Terry Jones and I set out to explore the road for BBC Wales.
The 9 Lives of John Ogilby is a fascinating journey through the social history of an England in turmoil. John Ogilby, who seemed at home in every kind of social milieu and who was the indefatigable survivor of every kind of disaster known to man, was nevertheless at the cutting edge of everything he ever attempted. But the 9 Lives of John Ogilby is more than that. It's also about breaking a code book designed, amazingly, to restart this English Civil War with the aid of the French. When Alan Revere and I were filming the great map mystery about John Ogilby's road map of Britain, the first road map in the world, in fact, it gave us the chance to follow Ogilby's routes with very surprising results.
All right. Now, that is someone just talking about John Ogilby, who basically had his work done, and he produced the first map. That's what he did. And when you look at this book, let's look at some of the things that was written in the book. Let's go inside a little bit, because there's some things that's written in there that we might need to take a look at. Because again, he was just doing other stuff, but look at what he wrote. We're gonna zoom in on it. A little bit more, because I want you to see what this guy wrote. We got to zoom out. I wish I could write it in there. Okay. So this is what it says. The Jews that dwelt on this island. Now, I'm not getting into all the other stuff he wrote, but this was just something that was placed in there. The Portuguese that dwelt on this island informed the Netherlands that few lived above 50 years there, yet withstanding the great gain, tempting them to tarry, several of them having 200 or 300 Negroes that worked in the sugar mill. So in other words, when these Caucasian Portuguese got there, they only few lived above 50 years old. Some of them having 2 or 3 Negroes that worked in the sugar fields, that John III, King of Portugal, sent a colony thither above 200 years before, whom though the wholesome air destroyed, so they couldn't take the climate, Yet the place was not left desolate, for he sent new inhabitants who first settled in Guinea, next in Angola, and lastly on the island of St. Thomas, that so they might be better used to the air. So let's put them next to get them around the ocean. That the said king sold all those Jews for slaves that refuse to embrace the Roman religion, and caused their children to be baptized, from whom coming thither in great numbers, most of the present inhabitants were descended. Let's go to the next page and read that. See, I want you to get and understand when somebody asks you for scholarly evidence, you're going to be able to take it to them. Yeah, you better take it to them. Let's reduce this to 100. Let's see if this will work here now. Okay. I think I may have to reduce it a little bit more, but that's okay. These words are kind of big. The Portuguese that dwelt on the island informed the Netherlands that few lived above 50 years. I did that. Okay. I think what I did was I was highlighting here that the king sold all those Jews for slaves. That's what this slide was. Let's go to scholarly source number 6. Number 6. This is a book called The Earth and Its Inhabitants, Africa. And notice it says right here, I don't know if y'all could see it, but it's called The Women, right here. It's got the words, you all can't see it. Let me see if I could bring it up a little bit so y'all can see it. No, you can't. It's got Women and Children of Porto Grande. Okay? So this is a book, and let's see more information about it. And there it is. The Earth and Its Inhabitants, Africa, by Elise Recluse. This is at the Harvard College Library. I think that's what that's saying there. Let's go read some of its contents. And this is what it says, inhabitants. When first visited by the Italian and Portuguese navigators, the Azores were founded to be uninhabited. The pioneers of the colony, founded in 1444 by Galileo Vel, whatever his name is, were some Moors sent forward, so to say, to test the climate and resources of the country for the Portuguese who were to follow them. In other words, they're going to check out this land. Afterwards, the large owners of feudal estates introduced with the white peasantry a certain number of black slaves, by whom a slight strain of dark blood was transmitted to the settlers. Oh, so y'all slept with somebody. The Jews expelled from Portugal at the beginning of the 16th century were also condemned to slavery and distributed over various districts in San Miguel, some 1,000 Flemish colonists introduced. So basically, they get there. Afterwards, the large owners of feudal estates introduced with the white peasantry a certain number of black slaves, by whom a slight strain of dark blood was transmitted to the settlers. So you slept with the women, and now you saying that the black blood was transmitted to the settlers. Let's keep reading. Let's go to the next one. And it says, like that of the Azores, the population of Madeira is of very mixed origin. Perestrello, leader of the first settlers, was Italian. Jews and Moors have taken refuge in the island. Negroes have been imported as slaves. The English masters of Madeira during the wars of the empire left behind them numerous families, and since the development of ocean steam navigation, many settlers have settled here. But all these heterogeneous elements became successively absorbed in the dominated Portuguese race. And nearly all the inhabitants have black eyes, coarse hair, dark hair, and a swarthy complexion. So you try to mix, but the genes of the black Jews dominated. Far too general not to be attributed in many cases to a Negro strand. Really beautiful features are seldom met except in the rural districts, but many have a pleasant expression due to their healthy appearance, graceful carriage, and well-proportioned figures. Like their Portuguese ancestors, these people are, as a rule, very courteous, of a mild, amiable, and cheerful temperament, and law-abiding. Let's keep going. Polvo, and I'm just reading what this person did. It says, let me make this up to 100 here. I still can't do it. But I think y'all can see it good. Polvo Grande, the largest village in Portuguese territory, is dispersed among the bananas and gardens stretching along the coast of South Cabinda. One of its hamlets was capital of the former kingdom of Nagoyo. A part of the local trade is in the hands of the Mavumbas, a people of grave and seldom aspect, with intelligent eyes, straight or even aquiline nose, whose pronounced Semitic type has earned for them the Portuguese designation of Judos Prestos, or Black Jews. See, the problem is when sometimes I entertain when I go on other formats, you can't get everything in. There's no way that I could go on. And shout out to Brother Berean. He has a format. He tries to do what he wants to do. His format is about creating discussion. It's not, for me to be able to come on there and just do this, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. And I respect that, because his show is about dialogue and, in most cases, debate. So when I go there, I hopefully go there where somebody will say, oh, that's Pastor Johnson, let me check out his channel. And when they come, they'll see stuff like this. Let me read this again. A part of the local trade in the hands of the Mavumbas, a people of grave and solemn aspect, with intelligent eyes, straight or even aquiline nose, whose pronounced Semitic type has earned for them the Portuguese designation of Judos Pretos, or Black Jews. They may certainly be regarded as of Jewish origin, if the statement be true that they are strict observers of the Sabbath, abstaining even from all conversation on that day. According to the natives, the Mavumpas were expressly created by God to punish other morals by reducing them to poverty. See, they read the book and they know that the children of Israel were disobedient. And see, everybody reads this but us. Everybody could accept this but us. The scriptures haven't changed. 1600, the scriptures is the scriptures. The Torah was going way back into before the first century, the scriptures was written. So when you start reading the scriptures, brothers and sisters, everybody knows what it says. Everybody knows about Israel but Israel. And they knew that God punished these people for being disobedient and breaking the covenant. Everybody else gets it but Israel. Let's keep going. Let's go to the next segment of this. I think I can blow this up to 100. Yes. East of Great Popo begins the Dahomey territory. That means the house of Dan. East of Great Popo begins the Dahomey territory, guarded by the important town of Galway, known to the Europeans, and y'all know I'm tearing that name up, known to the Europeans by the various names of Haveda, Wida, Waidu. The old writers call it Judah, Wida, Fida. But the old writers called it Judah, as its inhabitants were said to be Jews, while the neighboring river Alaya, or Ya, let me say that word because two L's is a Y sound, Ayala, whose real name is Ephra, became the Euphrates. During the flourishing days of the slave trade from 16 to 18,000 were annually transported from Judah, as the Portuguese called this place, which at the same time had a population of 35,000. The tutelar deity of Wida or Judah is the snake, and its famous fetish temple is serving by princesses called mothers or sisters of serpents, recruited by the abduction of young girls on feast days. Sounds like they got something that Judah got or Israel got from one of the other nations, or they brought in and learned and practicing it now, probably for the very same reason why the Lord scattered them. Source number 7. This is called the Inquisition Revealed, in its origin, policy, cruelties, and history, with memoirs of its victims. In France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, England, India, and other countries, dedicated to Cardinal Wiseman, that's what, by Reverend Thomas Timpson. Okay, so let's go read what they wrote. Let's reduce this to 75%. Polygamists. Those who marry 2 or more wives. Let me scoot this over. Are suspected of heresy and of disregarding the sacrament of matrimony. Such are punished with penances, fastings, and slavery in the galleys for 5, 7, or 10 years. This crime is but lightly considered in Spain, though it is looked upon as more serious by the inquisitors in Rome. Jews and Jewish proselytes. So let's keep reading. Distinct people scattered among the Gentiles until the conversion of Israel to the Messiah. I don't know if I was just reading a definition over there, but let's just keep reading. The conversion of Israel to the Messiah, while they yet shall endure persecution. Distinct scattered among the Gentiles until the conversion of Israel to the Messiah, while they yet shall endure persecution. The Roman Catholics, ignorant of the nature of the gospel, have endeavored wholly to destroy this people, or to compel them to profess the Christian faith. Edicts, the most severe and cruel, have been published against them from time to time by different popes in France and Spain. They have been oppressed, fined, banished, unless they would turn to Christians. Thousands of them in Spain and Portugal profess the name of Christ to escape punishment, yet in heart remaining Jews, abhorring the idolatry of the papists. The inquisitors proceeded against them as heretics and apostates. Now, so the Hebrews was not going to take Michelangelo or anybody else, Caesar Brazier, as being as being the Messiah. They knew better than that. They knew better than that, based upon what they was trying to get them to do. They knew better than that. They knew, no, we're not doing that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to accept this Christianity coming from the Roman Catholic. We're not going to do it. That's not what we're supposed to do. So let's keep reading. I've got here, it tells me to start here. Okay. This is what they used to do to people when they didn't do what they wanted them to do. So let's start reading here as it says, but let me blow it up. Can I do that? There we go. Okay. The procession, having marched in this order before the palace, proceeded to the square when the standard and the green cross were placed on the scaffold, where none but the Dominicans remained, the rest having retired. These Dominican friars that spent the night in chanting psalms and several masses were celebrated on the altar from daybreak until 6 in the morning. About an hour, so let me move this up so you can see it. About an hour after, the king, the queen, and the queen's mother, with all the royal family, the lords, the ladies, let's see here. I think I go to the next page. And officers of the court made their appearance, and at 8 o'clock ascended the scaffold. The coal merchants placed themselves on the left of the king's balcony, and his guards stood on the right. Afterwards came 30 men carrying images of pasteboard as large as life, some representing those who had died in prison and whose bones were brought in chests with flames painted on them, and the rest those who had escaped and were outlawed. These figures were placed at one end of the amphitheater, and then came 12 men and women with ropes about their necks, torches in their hands, and pasteboard caps on their heads, 3 feet high, on which were written their crimes. These were followed by 50 others, having also torches in their hands, and clothed with yellow great coats, on which were crosses of St. Andrew the 10th, behind and before. These were Jews who had repented of their crimes and desired to be admitted into the church as believers in Jesus Christ. Next came 20 Jews of both sexes who had relapsed thrice into their former errors and were condemned to the flames. Those who had given some tokens of repentance were to be strangled before they were burnt, but the rest, for having persisted in their errors, were to be burnt alive. These last wore linen garments with devils and flames painted on them, and caps after the same manner. 5 or 6 among them, who were more obstinate than the rest, were gagged and prevented from uttering what the Roman Catholics call blasphemous tenets. These were just Hebrews who say, we got in trouble for going after other gods. We got in trouble for bowing down to this type of heresy. Because what you all call us doing, that's you all. See, this is what's going to happen during the tribulation, brothers and sisters. This is what's going to happen during the tribulation. This is exactly what's going to happen during the tribulation. They're going to make you think that guy sitting in the temple, that he's holy, and he's not. And because you all are caught up in outside books and angels sleeping with humans and giants being 450 feet tall, and there's something that they not telling us, you're going to miss it because you're not into the book, which is your history. You're not into the feast days. We got a feast day coming up, Feast of Trumpets, and I guarantee you that most Hebrews don't know why there's a Feast of Trumpets and what it means. By the way, tune in on Wednesday. Pastor Boyd from the Israel of God will be teaching that day. We will be simulcasting and getting that whole lesson on the Feast of Trumpets. You need to tune in, like, share, and hit that notification bell. This is you know, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to pick some of this up tomorrow night and Wednesday night. And let me tell you why this lesson. Because, you know, if y'all want me to keep going, just tell me to keep going. Other than that, I respect your time. I can do a few more if you want me to. If you want me to pick it up tomorrow night, y'all let me know in the chat room. Let me know. I'll look over there in the chat room while I'm talking. You see, we are so engulfed, having itching ears to go outside of the book that's going to get you the plan to salvation, that you're getting clouded with issues and books that are not even written by prophets. That's why I did that lesson on the book of Enoch. It wasn't written by Enoch. That's why I showed you all of the errors in it, so you don't waste your time in it, so you can stay in Leviticus the 23rd chapter, so you can stay in Exodus the 20th chapter, so you can stay in the book of the laws and the prophets and the Psalms, so you can hear all the words that the right Jesus wrote, R-I-G-H-T. the true Messiah. He told you what was going to happen at end times. He told you what was going to happen. Somebody said we need to hear this. Let me tell you, brothers and sisters, you need to get in this book. Quit trying to be lured away from this book. Quit being lured away. Quit jumping into other books. We are showing you scholarly information that you are the people of this book. This is your history book. Quit jumping into other books that are not written by Enoch. None of them are. 1, 2, or 3. They're not written by Enoch. They're there as distractions. That's what Satan does. He puts the little things in there that might match. But when you go back and do what we did and we showed you all of the fallacy in the book because it don't match the prophets, come on, brothers and sisters. We got to do better. We really have to do better. We really have to do better. I'm going to show a couple more. I'll show a couple more. Look at this. Look at this. Scholarly source number 8. Listen to this. Number 8. This is a book. This is a book that was written by Claudius Buchanan, Doctor of Divinity. This was not written by Hebrews. This book was written in 1811. And it's titled, The Second Boston Edition, Christian Researches in Asia with Notices of the Translation of the Scriptures into Orient Languages. I want to hear what this guy had to say. Here's the book. Again, when it was written. It's at the Harvard College Library. That's where it's at. Let's see what they wrote. The Black Jews, Christian Research. Here's the book, Christian Research. Page 176. It is only necessary, let me blow it up. Let's blow it up and move it over. Can we do that? Let's just do this. It is only necessary to look at the continents of the Black Jews to be satisfied that their ancestors must have arrived in India many ages before the white Jews. Many ages before the white Jews. See, this is when your identity is starting to be hijacked. Their Hindu complexion and their very imperfect resemblance of the European Jews indicated that they had been detached from their parent stock in Judea many ages before the Jews in the West. This is not written by a doctorate of divinity that is African American or Hebrew. This was written by Claudius Buchanan, doctorate of divinity, author of Star in East memoir. Let's just continue to read. Their Hindu complexion and their very imperfect resemblance to the European Jews indicated that they had been detached from their parent stock in Judea many ages before the Jews in the West, and that there have been intermarriages with families not Israelitish. I heard that those tribes which had passed the Indus have assimilated so much to the customs and habits of the countries in which they live. Yes, Christmas, Easter, bunny rabbits laying eggs, eating pork, shrimp. They have assimilated so much to the customs and habits of the countries in which they live that they may be sometimes seen by a traveler without being recognized as Jews. In the interior towns of Malabar, I was not always able to distinguish the Jew from the Hindu. I hence perceive how easy it may be to mistake the tribes of Jewish descent among the Afghans and other nations in the north parts of Hindustan. The white Jews look upon the black Jews as an inferior race and not of a pure caste. Wonder why? Because they took your wallet. So they're going to look down on you. No, they don't mess with them. We're the now people. The white Jews looked upon the black Jews as an inferior race and not of a pure caste, which plainly demonstrates that they do not spring from a common stock in India. The black Jews communicated to me much interesting intelligence concerning their brethren, the ancient Israelites in the East. Traditional indeed in its nature, but in general illustrative of true history. They recounted the names of many other small colonies resident in northern India, Tartary, and China, and gave me a written list of 65 places. I conversed with those who had lately visited many of these stations. Let's go over to the next page and read. I inquired concerning their brethren, the 10 tribes. They said that it was commonly believed among them, because they did a lot of things through oral information, oral history transferred down orally. They said, meaning it wasn't in writing, but they got it from one ancestor who would tell the story to the children and the children and the children, and it passed down. They said that it is commonly believed among them that the great body of the Israelites are to be found in Chaldea and in the countries contiguous to it, being the very meaning next to it, being the very places whether they were first carried into captivity, that some few families migrated into regions more remote, as to Cochin and Rajapur in India, and to other places yet far to the east, but that the bulk of the nation, though now much reduced in number, had not to this day removed 2,000 miles from Samaria. Among the black Jews, I could not find many copies of the Bible. They inform me that in certain places of the remote dispersed, their brethren have but some small portions of the scriptures, and that the prophetical books were rare, but that they themselves, from their vicinity to the white Jews, have been supplied from time to time with the whole of the Old Testament. Yes, in other words, we do get to look at the whole Testament. Let's read this a little bit more. The next page. The manuscripts were of various kinds on parchment, coat skins, and cotton paper. These are the ones that they had that they were holding back. Let's zoom in on this a little bit more so y'all can see it good. The manuscripts were of various kinds on parchment, that's the type of paper, coat skins, and cotton paper. I negotiated for them hastily and wrapped them up in 2 cloths. So you see how a lot of our people lost what they had reserved in writing on these type of papers. So I negotiated for them hastily and wrapped them up in 2 cloths and gave them to the Jews to carry home to my house. So he took them from the black Jews and gave them to the other Jews, if I'm understanding this correctly, to take home to his house. I had observed some murmuring among the bystanders in the synagogue while I was examining the chest. And before we appeared in the streets, the alarm had gone forth that the Christians were robbing the synagogue of the law. There were evident symptoms of tumult, and the women and the children collected and were following us. I requested some of the more respectable Jews to accompany me out of the town, but I scarcely arrived at my own house at Cochin when the persons who had permitted me to take the manuscripts came in evident agitation and told me I must restore them immediately to calm the popular rage. Others had gone to complain to the chief magistrate, Thomas Flower, Esquire, and now I had lost my spoil, but for the friendly counsel and so he thought he was going to lose it, but now for the friendly and counsel and judicious conduct of Mr. Flower. So in other words, Flower sided with him. He directed that all the manuscripts should be delivered up to him. Okay, I tell you all what, I'm going to get them back. Bring them back to me and let me see what this whole fuss is about. He directed that all the manuscripts should be delivered up to him and that there should be no further proceedings on the subject about his authority. To this, the Jews agreed, and there was some plea of justice on my side, as it was understood that I had given a valuable consideration. I'm just reading it, brothers and sisters. Let's keep going. It gets more. Here he's talking about, I have since made a tour through the towns of the black Jews in the interior of the country, Tripor, Paror, Chenouda, and Malay. I have procured a good many manuscripts, chiefly in the rabbinical character, some of which the Jews themselves cannot read. I do not know what to say to their traditions. A copy of the scriptures belonging to Jews of the East who might be supposed to have had no communication with Jews of the West has been long considered a desideratum in Europe, for the Western Jews have been accused by some learned men of altering or omitting certain words in the Hebrew text to invalidate the argument of Christians. But Jews in the East, remote from the controversy, would have no motive for such corruptions. One or two of the MSS, which I have just procured, will probably be of some service in this respect. One of them is an old copy of the books of Moses written on a roll of leather. The skins are sewed together, and the roll is about 48 feet in length. It is, in some places, worn out, and the holes have been sewed up with pieces of parchment. I think that's what they want to say. So, to fulfill Scripture, you would no longer know your history. You would no longer know who you are. You would be scattered. You see what's taking place. The Bible tells us that, but we got academic resources to confirm it, how it happened. And I'm sure there's many other ways that information was lost. So when you see what's happening here, brothers and sisters, it's not 12. We're going to go to 12. I want to go just with a couple more. You see what's happening here. This is scholarly source number 9. Scholarly source number 9. I don't know how you feel about this. But don't let it anger you, because it's our ancestors' fault. Here's a book called Travels in Holland, the United Province, Scotland, England, Scotland, and Ireland. Notice that all of these books that are written by these people, this was written in 1844 by Sir William Brereton Bart. Now, here's the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making, all of them are saying the same thing. So let's go look at it. It's just one source I want to read from this. Just one. Let's zoom in on it. Let's just read this one source here. This day being Saturday, June the 14th, is observed as the Jews' Sabbath, who are about 300 families seated in this town, most Portugals. A street they have called the Jews' Street. See, this is why the apologists want to discredit information. You can't discredit this because we're giving you sources of where to find it. But see, this is what they don't. They don't want to keep the Sabbath because they're wrong, and they want to hold on to tradition. These apologists are like the Jews who converted, and like you saw that guy riding on a horse with the cross on his back. I'm living. I'm just gonna live. This is who. When you see. Let me just say it this way. When you see black folk, when you see Hebrews fighting to keep a portrait of a Christ that is not the portrait of Christ and will fight you, well, that's skin doctrine. That's skin doctrine. What difference does it make? It didn't make no difference to me when I thought he was white. But my question is, why did you change him from black to white? Who's the guilty party here? And then I was on Berean one time. Again, one of his panelists says, two wrongs don't make a right. Really? I'm wrong for changing and correcting history. I'm wrong for correcting history from where they changed it from. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, people. It gets no better. Listen to this. Let's keep going. Let's see what else I have. I have something else on the next side of the page. I must have had something here. This is talking about what they read. Let's keep going over here. There we go. Okay. The reading of Psalms of David in a tune. The pronaousis point of the Israelites, such to read as they think fit. The sons of Aaron and Levites have longer white robes than the rest. Here's the congregation, no good order, no great zeal and devotion here appearing, much time spent in singing and in talking. We went hence to an Englishman and his wife, lately turned Jew, as it is said, merely to enrich themselves. So in other words, we're going to become Jews so we can learn everything. So we're going to come in and worship with you so we can learn, because what we're going to eventually do is hijack the book. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm entitled to do that when I read some of the things that took place. Here is the congregation, no good order. To you it's no good order. No good order, no great zeal and devotion here appearing. Much time spent in singing and in talking because you don't know what they're talking about. Because, see, the Bible's foreign to you. We went hence to an Englishman and his wife, lately turned Jew, as is said, merely just so that to enrich themselves, very obstinate and ignorant both. He is a merchant of tobacco. 'Tis said his wife, being an handsome woman, was a courtesan in London. They deny all the New Testament. Their men, mostly black, full of hair, so they're sharing what they're able to get. Their men, mostly black, full of hair, and insatiably given unto women, the wives restrained and made prisoners, the widows distinguished from all other women, Jews by white veils hanging to their backs. They will not bury amongst the Gentiles. So they learning some stuff here. And they don't want to accept the New Testament because they have associated that with being exactly what it is, Romish Christianity, the way you're teaching it. Source number 10. Source number 10. This is a book called The Critical Review or Annals of Literature by a Society of Gentlemen. So we'll get their names, I think. Let's see here if we can get that information. Where is this book at? Let's find out where it's at. Oh, it's at Princeton University. All the Ivy League schools. That's where this book is at. It's at Princeton University. Here's some information on the book. The Critical Review or Annals of Literature, Volume 57. Listen to this. This work has been selected by scholars as being culturally important and is part, let me zoom out so we can see it, and is part of the knowledge base of civilization as we know it. This work was reproduced from the original artifact and remains as true to the original work as possible. Therefore, you will see the original copyright references literally stamped, as most of these works have been housed in our most important libraries around the world. The other notations in the work, this work is in the public domain in the United States of America and possibly other nations. Within the United States, you may freely copy and distribute this work, as no entity, individual or corporation, has a copyright on the body of the work as a reproduction of a historical artifact, and this work may contain missing or blurred pages, poor pictures, errant marks, etc. Scholars believe, and we concur, that this work is important enough to be preserved, reproduced, and made generally available to the public. We appreciate your support of the preservation process, and thank you for being an important part of keeping this knowledge alive. Well, let's go see what's inside the book. Here we go. Let's zoom in on it so we can see what's important. So let's scroll up a little bit and let's go look at it. Okay, can we do that? Let's scroll up on it and look at it. Let's zoom in on it a little bit more. 150. King John II in 1492 expelled all those Jews to the island of St. Thomas. Well, we heard that before, which has been discovered in 1471, and to other Portuguese settlements on the continent of Africa. And from these banished Jews, who are they? The Black Portuguese, as they are called, and the Jews in Loango, who are despised even by the very Negroes. In other words, by the Africans, Hamites. Hamites. Because not all black people are Israelites. Many and most are Hamites, who are despised even by the very Negroes, are descended. By these colonists, St. Thomas soon became a considerable place of trade. We read that early in the book. So they're basically just preserving what has been written. And as they say, we believe that this is very important work. In the beginning of the 16th century, the Spaniards and Portuguese began to transport Negroes for similar labors to the West Indies and Brazils, by which the Negroes' trade was rapidly increased. The Spaniards and their first settlement in the West Indies immediately treated the natives of that part of the globe, according to the Pope, according to the Pope's instruction. So, what would it? How do we want you to treat them? How we want you to train them? Make them Christians. They divided them by families or districts among themselves as slaves. Wow. Brothers and sisters, we got a few more minutes. We got a few more minutes. Did I get all of that? I didn't. Listen to this. This is just a book where it's talking about the same thing. In other words, what they preserved. So let's go to source number 11. Scholarly source number 11. This is a book. It says Sources of History in the Pentateuch. 6 lectures delivered in Princeton Theological Seminary on the Stone Foundation, March of 1882. Now keep in mind, in March of 1882, and it was in 1865 that people started to realize that we were free, even though they freed us in 1863. So let's keep reading. 60 lectures delivered in March 1882 at Princeton Theological Seminary. Let's see what some of this is. Let's go over and read it. Thus, the black color is found not only in individuals, as the black Jews of Portugal, but in tribes, as the Bicharis on the Red Sea, whose hair and character are perfectly Semitic, and the white color in the brutalized descendants of certain exiled Irish and Ulster, whose features are almost of the African type. There are Negroes, says Quatrefages, whose prognosis however you say that, Rose, prognatheism is no more marked than in whites, and whites in whom is very pronounced. The quality of hair not being an invariable mark, nor the shape of the section of the hair. So basically, I just wanted to show that they were referring to the Jews as being black. Scholarly source number 11. Did I do that one? Yeah, 6 lectures. Okay. Number 12A. To use this book, to me, is almost it's good, but some people will say, no, well, look at the source. But anyway, Judean Hebrews from Upper Senegal, West Africa. These men are the descendants of the ancient Judean nation. Their ancestors fled from Jerusalem before the arrival of the Roman armies, which were under the command of Vespasian and General Titus in 70 AD. I put this here because I could not determine, I could not verify the source of this picture. It says the picture below was taken from the book The Lost Tribes, a Myth by Dr. Alan Godbey, Duke University Press, 1930. So I wanted to do a little bit more research on this, so that's why I said, I have it here, but I'll put it. I want to do research on that. But anyway, they're just showing you that these guys here have dreadlocks. That's all. That's what the picture is showing. Let's go to 12B, scholarly source 12B. This is a book that's called the Nautical Magazine and Naval Chronicle, January 1870. Now, somebody might say, why would a nautical magazine and naval chronicle have anything to do with as being a scholarly source? Because as I told you, that these books wrote information and they recorded information about the area as they were exploring it. But let's just see what they wrote down. I want to see what they wrote down in this magazine. Let me scale it back down to 125%. So here we go. The Loango family. Now, we read about that earlier. We read about the Loango. The inhabitants of Loango do not differ materially from those of the Guabam and Cape Lopez. It is probable that the Jewish type of character above mentioned forms a larger element of populations here than it does on the Pongo coast. It could be Congo coast. And this it was doubtless which led the Roman Catholic missionaries who labored here during the 16th and 17th centuries to the conclusion that they had found black Jews in Loango. This type of character, combined with the practice of circumcision, naturally enough led to this opinion, because the people were circumcised. Why are they circumcised? Because it was a part of the covenant agreement with Abraham, and it was passed down from generation to generation as it should be today. Listen to this. But this rite is nearly universal throughout the country, whilst this particular cast of continents is only one out of a good many varieties that cannot be accounted for. Barbot states that in the reign of Don John II and about the close of the 15th century, large numbers of the Jews were expelled from Portugal, which we've read in every source that we brought to you tonight. About the close of the 15th century, large numbers of Jews were expelled from Portugal and taken to the coast of southern Guinea, that the island of St. Thomas, which is not more than 100 miles from the mainland, was populated by mulattoes, descended from the Jewish exiles and Anglo women. They're mulatto because the Anglo women saw these handsome Hebrew brothers. It is possible that the Jewish type of character noticed at the Gabon and Luango may have originated from this source. I'm not writing this, I'm just reading it, brothers and sisters. But if so, it is unknown to present inhabitants of the country, and it would have been somewhat singular if the Roman Catholic missionaries at Luango had not detected this circumstance instead of regarding them as a pure African family of Jews. I can only present it, brothers and sisters. I'm only reading it. I'm only reading it. Sometimes we just got to go read scholarly sources and look at this and look at what's on the table. That's all. That's all. I'm going to stop there. We're going to come back tomorrow night because I'm going to be dealing, brothers and sisters. It's important to know who you are, and it's also important. Listen, I know somebody sent me and wrote something. They said, because I did a car cam on how people keep saying it's the 400 years, and look at what's happening to us alarmingly. Look at what's happening with the amount of deaths that's in our community, alarmingly compared to the majority. And people keep saying, well, it's 400 years. We're getting ready to go. You ain't going nowhere. You're not going nowhere. 400 years has already happened, okay? It's already happened. I'm showing you this information, and we're going to be dealing with it so you all can get back to the book. Quit chasing fairy tales. I dealt with this in 2018. 2019, that's the year, 16, 19 to 20. We're going. We're going to be leaving out. We're going to be going. 2019 came around. Well, it's really not to next year, because when you subtract 1619 from 2019, that's only 399 years. So it's going to be next year. So they moved the yardstick. And I said, you want another year? I'll give you another year. I'll give you another year. August of 2020 came around. Nope. Didn't happen. Well, it's got to be after 400 years. 2021, it's August. You're not going nowhere. You need to be preparing for the 3.5-year tribulation. You need to get yourself right with this book. Get back to the laws, statutes, get back to the feast days. And I'm going to be promoting it every day this week. Wednesday, we're going to be talking about the Feast of Trumpets. Pastor Bowie is going to be teaching a phenomenal lesson. A phenomenal lesson. And you need to be there. Tune in right here on this channel, so we can bring you more of that good information, brothers and sisters. So I'm going to get out of here for tonight. Again, I apologize for missing the Balm of Gilead. I forgot what day of the week it was because I'm on vacation. I thought it was Sunday. Happens sometimes, right? All right. That being said, we're going to straight up get out of here. We're not going to, I don't think I'm going to play anything tonight. I'm just going to let y'all get out of here because it is late, and I do want you back tomorrow night so we can get some more of this. But in the meantime, I do want you to take a look at this app. I've been supporting this app. I think it's a good app to get. Most of you already have the Bethel House of God phone app, but I want you to see this one because you can get some very good lessons 24 hours, 7 days a week. Other than that, we will see you tomorrow night. Okay, I got to do that. I can't leave y'all hanging like that. I will play Brother DePaul, Prophet. He talks about a little bit about the lesson tonight, about our history. So I will play that. And that will be right after this app. And I will see you all tomorrow night at 8:30. Be blessed, brothers and sisters. Thank you for tuning in tonight. My voice got a little low there. Thank y'all for tuning in tonight and being a part of this class. Thank you, Brother Mark P, Sister Coach, all of our moderators and all of you all that tune in tonight. The lesson was scholarly sources proving who are the people of the book. Scholarly sources identifying the people of the Bible is another way of saying it. We have been identified, brothers and sisters. I hope you walk in and embrace the information and get ourselves back on track. God bless you. We'll see you. Peace and blessings unto you.
You are tuned into Bethel BHG-TV, another Bethel House of God ministry.
Where'd you find this? This is so sick.
What's good, brother?
What's up?
See, man.
I'm telling you, bro, this the truth. It's the truth.
What's up, man?
What's going on, Brother Earl?
Luciano, bro. Welcome.
Brother Prop.
What's up, man?
Prop, what's going on?
What's up, man? You know what I'm saying?
Brother Prop, Brother Earl.
Hey, we in here just kicking book, you know what I'm saying? You got yourself a Bible, man?
Nah, I mean, I don't really read the Bible.
Hey, man, you remember what I told you, bro? You know what I'm saying? We took our hats off.
Oh, this?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what y'all in? Y'all in, you know what I'm saying?
First Thessalonians 5.
First Thessalonians. You know, get them, bro.
Nah, you
Good
should
Bible.
It's in the New Testament. You know
What was it?
The coming of the Lord.
The coming of the Lord. That's right. That's right. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as others do, as do others. But let us watch and be sober.
Let us watch, man.
I tell you.
And he ain't talking about, go ahead, keep going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let
Yes,
me
sir.
tell you something. For they that sleep in the night. And they that be drunken are drunken in the night.
You talking about that?
Excuse me, bro. You know, I mean, I don't mean to interrupt y'all or nothing, man, but hey, Phil, bro, I'm a little busy, bro. I got some stuff to take care of, man. I ain't really feeling this for real. I'm gonna go ahead. I appreciate y'all time. I mean, I really don't believe this stuff for real. You want to, you know, I mean, I do appreciate y'all time, though.
Yeah.
You know,
God bless you, bro.
already, man. I appreciate
I
y'all.
hope your mind changed. Nice meeting you, fam.
I already like
Brother Earl?
Man, I need to talk to you, bro. I'm looking for you,
What's
man.
wrong, bro? What
I
happened?
can't do this no more, man. I'm tired of this, man.
What you talking about, bro?
Hitting cars, hitting licks, stealing, man. I can't, man. I'm feeling so guilty on the inside. Tell me, bro, what I need to do.
Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand.